Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 3 of the English conversation class. Today we'll be talking about daily routines and your daily life, and we'll be looking at Unit 4 in your textbook. So, just a few things before we start. So at present, I'm recording this on April 2nd. It's Thursday night. So at present, in-class lectures are now due to start next week. However, this may change. So if this does change, the college will let you know as soon as possible. Secondly, again, please upload your assignment files to the e-learning site. Don't send them by email. Everything should be on the e-learning site. Please check your documents carefully before you upload them. Last week, I got some blank documents, so make sure you upload the correct document and it is complete. Again, using the video, some parts I will be pausing, and maybe you want to rewind parts, that's completely fine. Use the video and repeat as many times as you think you need to. For today's class, you will need your Four Corners textbook. You will need the 2 handouts from the e-learning site. You will be able to find the PDF file that has all of today's presentation slides, and also your assignment worksheet. And here we've got 4 or 5 different parts to complete today. So, let's see. So before we start with today's lesson, I want to go over some of the answers from last week's assignments. Now, most of you that I have checked so far did a really fantastic job, so well done. However, there were some parts that you had some problems with. So I thought it would be a good idea to go over those parts. Now, I'm not going to review the final part today because there was just so many different types of answers here, and most of you did a really great job on that part. So I just want to go over some of the other parts. Part 1, vocabulary. Well, here I've just made a list of all the words I could think of to describe family relationships. Maybe these can be useful for you to look back on. So I've made my list: sister, grandparents, mother, father, brother, son, daughter, cousin, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, grandmother, grandfather, grandson, granddaughter, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law. So I think these were the kind of most commonly used ones. So you may find this useful. Also, with the listening, I think most of the assignments that I've seen so far, listening was excellent. Let's have a look at the questions. What's his sister's name? Well, full answer, using a full sentence, should have been his sister's name is Wendy. How old is his sister? She's 7 years old. How many sisters does he have? He has 1 sister, only the one. And how do his grandparents look? They look young. So if you want to check this again, the conversation is written on page 20 of your textbook. So maybe read it again if you're still unsure of these answers. This part here was the one I think we had the biggest problems with, and maybe that's because I didn't explain enough family relationships. But hopefully now when we see all of the family relationships here, we can answer this a little bit better. So again, who is Kirsty? Well, Kirsty was here. I'm here. Now, here's Margaret. That's my mother. Robert's her brother. Kirsty's their daughter. So, Kirsty is your cousin. Now, if we went up, who is Charlie? Well, that's my mom's father. So, my mom's father is my grandfather. So, the answer should have been Charlie is your grandfather. Now, a lot of you here were getting confused with the names. That's okay. A lot of boys and girls' names sound similar in English. It's difficult to tell them apart. Some of you also wrote Beth is your brother's daughter, which was a good answer. I think that's perfectly fine. However, there is a special name we use for that, and that is the word niece. So my brother or my sister's daughter is my niece. So here is Beth. She's a girl. Ali's my brother. So Beth is my niece. I think everybody got this. Who is Margaret? Margaret is my mother. So you should have written Margaret is your mother. Who is Jimmy? Well, here was down here, and Jimmy is my son. And again, some of you had trouble with the word here. Well, my brother's son, Jack is a boy's name. My brother's son is my nephew. So Jack is your nephew. So don't worry too much about it if you got a few of these answers incorrect. No problem at all. But hopefully this explains it a little bit more. As I said, I think most of you did a great job in part 5, writing about your families. You gave some great information, so well done with that. Okay, we're going to go on to today's lesson. We'll be talking about daily life in Unit 4 of your textbook. So in today's lesson, we'll be looking at parts of daily life. Transport. Well, that's a very important part of daily life. How do you go from one place to another place? We use transport. So we'll be looking at how we travel. Then we'll be going on to part C, which is about people talking about their daily routines. And then you're going to be talking about activities you do every day. So let's start. Now, the first thing we're going to think about is transport or getting around. So in your textbook on page 36, we have 8 different examples of types of transport. We've got to drive a car, ride a bicycle, ride a motorcycle, take a taxi, take the bus, take the subway, take the train, or walk. So there are 8 good examples of types of transport. But there are many, many other types of transport. So the first thing we're going to do today in your assignment worksheet is take some time to think. And I want you to try and write down 5 other types of transport. So remember, I don't want you just to write these types of transport. I want you to think of 5 different ones. For example, spaceship. Now, maybe we don't use a spaceship every day, but some people do use a spaceship to travel from one place to another. So, everybody pause the video now, fill in the answers in your worksheet, and then you can restart the video. Okay, next thing we're going to look at is some grammar. Now, if you look on page 37, we will notice that some of these ways of describing transport have an S on the end. So if we look here, I drive to work. But if we're using he, we cannot say he drive. It has to be he drives to work. So here we're looking at the S ending on verbs, also known as the third person singular. And what we use this for, well, it depends on who we are talking about. So let's use the word drive. Now, if it is I, it is drive. If it is you, it is drive. If it is we, it is drive. If it is they, we use drive. However, when we're talking about other people, he or she, we're going to change that verb into drives. It's adding that S ending. So these examples here give you some examples of how to do this. So I drive to work. I don't take the train. You take a taxi. You don't take the subway. He rides. We notice we've got the S. He rides a bike. Now, he doesn't drive to work. So here we're changing the don't to doesn't. He doesn't drive to work. She drives. She doesn't walk. We take the train. We don't take a taxi. They walk to school. They don't take the bus. So it shows us here I, you, we, and they. We're using the normal verb, drive, take, ride, walk. He or she, we're changing that. Drives, takes, rides, walks. So it's important that we know this here. We've also got some examples with some irregular verbs. I have a car, she has a car. You don't have a bike, she doesn't have a bike. We go to work, he goes to work. They don't go to school, he doesn't go to school. So these examples are quite useful to help you see the difference of when we use the normal verb and when we use the S ending verb. So what I would like you to do now is pause the video and look on page 37 of your textbook. We have 6 different examples. Look at the verb in the box and try to make some sentences. So here, I take the bus to school. I don't walk. So we've got other sentences. Jonathan, my parents, my neighbor, my Lee, and we. So everybody take a few minutes and try to write those answers in your textbook. Okay, hopefully everybody's finished and I'm going to give you the answers. So, Jonathan, it's a boy's name. It's like using he. So here we've got the verb have. We cannot use have because it's like he. So we should have Jonathan has a car. He doesn't drive to work. Our next one, my parents. Well, 2 people, it's like saying they, they. So we know from before, they, well, we don't need to change the verb. My parents take the train to work. They go to the city. Now, my neighbor. Well, here it's going to be a man or a woman, so it would be like using he or she. So we can't use ride, we have to change it to rides. My neighbor rides a motorcycle to work. Miley is a girl's name, so it's like using she. So Miley doesn't take the bus. She walks. Last one is we. So we know from we don't need to change the verb. So we don't have bicycles and we don't drive. So hopefully you got all of these answers. And this grammar, I think, is going to be quite useful when it comes to doing some of the assignments in today's class. So let's move on. And we're going to do an assignment here with some writing. So I have given you 4 questions. How do you get to school? Where do you travel from? How long does it take? And what do you do while traveling? So, how do you get to school? We're looking for the type of transport. Do you walk to school? Do you take a taxi? Do you ride a bicycle? Where do you travel from? Well, that is the start of your journey. So for me, I live in Cheongna in Incheon. So where do I travel from? I travel from Cheongna. That's it. How long does it take? So from your home to your school, how long does it take? So for me, it takes 30 minutes. And what do you do while traveling? Well, if you're on a bus, maybe you read a book or you listen to music. What do you do while you are traveling? So everybody, pause the video just now. You've got your space here to write your 4 answers. Once you have finished them, you can start the video again. Okay, we're going to move on to talk about daily activities. Now, we've already talked about transport, and I think that's a good example of a daily activity, things we do very often. There are lots of other things that we do every day. And if you look in part C1, page 40 of your textbook, we have 10 daily activities. So which of these things do you do? So our daily activities are get up, drink coffee, eat breakfast, read the news, go to school, exercise, cook dinner, study, watch TV, go to bed. There are many other activities that people do every day as well. So some of these things you may do and some of them you may not do. So what I would like you to do is look in your worksheet and you will see you've got a little table that has the 7 days of the week. You're going to maybe write 1 or 2 activities into the worksheet about things that you do on those days. So maybe on Monday, if you study, you can write down study. On Tuesday, maybe you watch your favorite drama. Great. Saturday, you go shopping. So whatever you do on these days, you can make a list in this table. So everybody, you should pause the video just now and make your list. Okay, we're going to go on to some listening now. The listening today, we have 5 questions, and those 5 questions are all about a conversation where people are talking about their daily life. So the 5 questions are, what day is it? Does Tom get up early? What does he do all morning and afternoon? Does he exercise in the afternoon? And what does he do on the weekends? So 5 questions. Now, 2 of these questions have a yes/no answer. Do you know which ones? Well, hopefully everybody could see question 2 and question 4 are beginning with a verb. In this case, it's the do verb. Does Tom get up early? Does he exercise in the afternoon? So these two questions, the answers can only be yes, he does, or no, he doesn't. The other questions are looking for more detail in the answer. So I am going to play the conversation. Everybody, listen carefully and try to answer the 5 questions.
Page 40. Exercise 2. Conversation. Monday morning.
It's Monday morning. Again.
Do you get up early on weekdays?
Yes, I do. I get up at 5:30 a.m.
Wow, that is early.
And I study all morning and afternoon.
Do you study in the evenings too?
No, I don't. I cook dinner, exercise, and go to bed late, after midnight.
That's not good. What about on weekends?
On weekends, I sleep.
Okay, so that is the listening. Again, if you didn't hear everything, that's okay. You can rewind the video and listen again and try to get all 5 of the answers. I will be giving you the correct answers in next week's class. All right. So we're going to go on to do one final thing today. We're going to be writing about our daily activities, and we're going to do this by answering 5 questions. When we answer these questions, I would like you to use one sentence to give your answer, and then maybe 2 sentences to describe that answer in more details. So the questions are, what are some things that you do every day? Do you watch TV every day? How often do you read the news? Do you ever exercise? What do you usually do on weekends? So we need to try and answer this question and then give 2 or maybe even 3 extra pieces of information. So I've chosen an example here. I chose question 2. Do you watch TV every day? So rather than just saying yes or no, I have given much more detail here. So I've said, no, I don't watch TV every day, but I usually watch it 4 or 5 days a week. I like watching football shows and American dramas. My favorite program is a football show called Match of the Day. So I've answered the question here. I've given a little bit extra information, how often I do watch it. I told you the type of TV shows and also my favorite program. So I would like you to do something similar for all of these questions. Answer the question, and then for each one, give a little bit of extra detail. You've got lots of space in your handout here to write your answers. So everybody pause the video just now and write your answers. Okay, everyone. Just before we finish, just a quick review of the things we learned today. So we started off by looking at how to use vocabulary to describe types of transport. Then you did some writing about the ways you travel. We listened to people talk about their daily routine, and you talked about the activities you do regularly by writing your answers to those 5 questions. So hopefully you've managed to complete all of today's assignment. Please remember to upload your assignment files to the e-learning website. Next week's class, let's hope we are in school next week. We're not certain just now, but let's hope we can have the classes starting next week. And next week we'll be studying Unit 5, which is about free time activities. Okay, well, thank you everybody, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.